everyone. It's so happy to be here before all of you tonight. And it's my pleasure to teach and to help each one of you rise to that next higher spiritual step. Each one of you have your own individual lighted souls that are divine in their own nature. We have our own divinity. And we need to listen to that song within, that music within us that is our own purification fountain of divine light. So we've come this evening to train and to teach all of you about this process so that all of you will be able to do it for yourselves individually and to teach it to others. So we talk about the fountain of divine light within us. It gradually comes down from our higher part of our soul, like an upside down cone of energy, and all of this energy is flowing through. It's constantly, we just have to become aware of it. Becoming cognizant of God is the most important thing for all of us, she says. And the most important thing in being cognizant of God, as soon as you have that realization, I'm in connection with the divine creator, we've raised our vibration and locked into this natural purifying force that's always there. So we should, collectively this evening, all of us see this gigantic cone of spiritual waterfall going over the planet Earth, erasing all the hurt and pain and suffering of the many and cleansing the mass consciousness of the planet. We can also project the healing light of divine love and peace to all of you and all of the rest of our sisters and brothers, both in spirit and those who incarnated in the human form. So in the process of it, we visualize that purple-violet flame, as the Saint Germain calls it, in our heart chakra, in our heart seed atom, and it's getting bigger and bigger and expanding, and before we know it, we're encompassed in this flame of purple-violet energy. And in our intent, that is the purple-violet fire of love's forgiveness, it's purifying everything within us that we need to forgive ourselves, as well as to forgive others, so that we erase all the trespasses on the divine plan that we're supposed to be living. Every day is a joy and happiness. We're bringing in the healing and balancing that all of you need, desperately need. So each day we should stand in our own waterfall of spiritual cleansing. It's like a spiritual rain within us, inside every cell, every particle of our being. It starts in the ethereal self and the lower and high astral cells. It starts in the higher embodiments we have. Since tonight's dissertation will be about the connection with the fifth dimension and how we're readying our own embodiments to embrace that higher vibration, so those energies will flow into us. We need to clear ourselves for them to make a space in the dense matter consciousnesses that we maintain every day, and just being here incarnate on the planet Earth, the lovely Earth. So in this, in the heart of ourselves, we're radiating this divine light of purple-violet energies that's clearing the way. And now these ethereal energies of divine blessings and love from our own higher self is manifesting through each and every one of you presently at this moment. It says, I have placed a secret symbol and attunement upon each one of your heads, and all those who will be listening to this, that you are included in this. There will be an attunement and a special symbol assigned to you to help you, give you empowerments to rise to the next level. We also collectively place these attunements upon the planet itself, in from the inner core to the outer surface where many of you live. And in this blessing that, in the blessing of the rose, since all of you are wearing that high frequency and high vibrational essential oil, it makes me happy that we can all be created together. She asks all of you to join her in this declaration that she's about to make. It said, Heavenly Father, divine presence within me, make manifest your divine love and purification for ourselves and our family and all those upon this planet. in it, around it, and through it, and even in those in the spirit worlds. We thank you, Divine Father, the God within us, for every day's cleansing and purification, making us worthy for higher journeys. Thank you so much. The I Am Presence. I feel St. Germain's come here, and the first thing he says, greetings to all of you. I'm so pleased to be here once more in this little temple that has a big voice. And with the recordings today, hopefully we'll reach out through the media to a bigger audience that's worthy, and all of you are worthy of hearing the messages I'm about to bring forth. Since today's discussion is our shift of consciousness, but more than that, creating something within us that enables us to connect to a higher vibration of divine enlightenment. When one thinks about the fifth dimension and the higher dimensions that this planet's ascending to, he says you're now going to the middle fourth vibration, because it's been speeded up by the great karmic council and the great councils, and with the permission of this earth. You're the spirit of this planet, Mother Earth. And she, with all of us, are joining, a higher realm of consciousness. It's sort of like a molting process, he says, for the planet. But also, it helps all of us in going to our higher dimension of consciousness, becoming the divine beings we really are. So he says in today's thing, the exercise is, and he says, explaining the process here. Says, what is it when a human being is conceived and then they were born? It's a 9 month period where it can be a 6 week in respect to creating within us our own fifth dimensional self. It's starting from our heart, growing outwardly as we bless and love that divine presence within us. You're creating a void. It's not really like having a child within us. But it says in this way, as we think of it like that, it is growing and loving every day, that this interdimensional or multidimensional cavity that we're creating in us allows these fifth dimensional energies to flow into it, and it's absorbed by the cells of our body and our physical brain, by our aura, and we radiate it, literally. So even the family members will benefit by this, as well as general humanity. The fact that each one of you will become a channel of the fifth dimensional energies, divine love and light, spread into this planet. Each one of you are like grounding rods, raising the vibration and helping with it. There are a great many others in other countries presently practicing this, as I have gone before you and taught them as well. So they are our brothers and our sisters, and we, no matter what the race, creed, color, our skin, he says that we are all one and brothers, holding hands together and embracing this fifth dimensional consciousness. He says there's a great movement in the spirit world also to help those in spirit realize that they already exist in another dimensional consciousness, this not in the human form. And just by a shift of their own creation, bringing in that fifth dimensional energy will attract them into their fifth dimensional existences that already exist right this moment. So why can we and why shouldn't we not go and join with our other self? And he says it's just like things you have to become acclimatized to, gradual rather than sudden. So he says that this is an exercise also in letting go of limiting beliefs and limiting decisions, negative emotions, and all the like of a kind. He says that purple violet energy that Goddess Nada was talking about, that I regularly teach about, is a savior in itself, is our resurrection, and it is a form of the Christ energies. It says that when you connect with the Christ consciousness, you do see a blinding white light, but you'll find it has sort of a purplish tinge to it. And this is what we are focusing on and concentrating in this room. He says in ethereal form, he has created that's before me a huge amethyst crystal just for tonight, an ethereal realm. So some of you that are psychically gifted and others who are sensitive will feel its presence. And the only reason why I have brought this here tonight, he says, for one reason, is to help raise all of your consciousness to make it a permanent marker for this temple here. Because he says when he's finished talking tonight, he's going to make it descend in an ethereal form into the ground beneath this room. So it will be permanently embedded here. It'll be a beacon of light. And also, as Reverend Mary Hubert has said about the being near the Capitol and influencing our government for good and bringing the peace and as well as prosperity and eliminate the suffering. So in this process tonight here is largely a visualization. It says, how can I see something in my heart kind of grow in another perspective of consciousness? It's that we're making a space for God, you might say, in your heart. So in that presence, as we expand that presence, and it says if you do it gradually, a little every day, in about 6 weeks, it will be filled just like the shape and physical form of our present body. He says there have been previous discussions of breathing in divine light and seeing yourself as being hollow and it's filling you up. That's another technique of the same thing. So if it's easier to perceive that than the latter that I have proposed, he says that it would be equally as good. Is you're breathing in this fifth dimensional divine energy, and it is some point where it will become constant in us and it will lift our thoughts. He says also that with the radiation of divine presence of fifth dimensional energies will cause others to feel and sense that. It will expand your auras. Also, it will help give us, all of you, foresight into the both near future and future. Don't be alarmed, because many things that are possibilities in the future don't always manifest because of the congealing consciousnesses of man that sort of regulate the mass consciousness. So how do we fix this? Is bring in this fifth dimensional energies influencing the mass consciousness to raise itself one notch every time we do this. And he says even though they're incremental notches, he says that some of the great edifices in the past through manual labor have been raised with many ropes, with many people pulling in one direction. So it is the collective of all of us, even in the spirit world, in the other realms, and descendant masters, that we are erecting this gigantic monument to God himself. We, each one of us, become the grounding rod to help raise this planet, a conductor to the divine energies and presence and the messages. Many of you will receive messages, and not to be confused by them. It's best to write them down. Some of them are immediately applicable in your human lives today. So the other part here, he says that there will be the after effect of some will not understand if you and your sharing of your revelations at the present if they are not sensing it themselves. So what do we do about family members and things as visualized, just like you would whether your body is hollow and this energy is filling it up from the inside feet all the way up to the top of our head. He says each one of you are chosen points of light that have come tonight, listening to what you might say is a clarion call, as mentioned in the Bible and in other holy books around the world. So he says that divine love blesses and helps you with this. It is through love that the great ascended masters, the higher hierarchy of the solar system, and of the greater solar system is a part of. So it does come from the great central sun as the supporting energies as well as the spirit support, the master support on every level, more than just through the Christ consciousness, but all the other consciousness combined to help raise this particular planet, which has always been considered God's school, higher notches, so to free itself from the collective of the negativity that have been shed from man. So if you see it in that way, that it's being shed from us, it says we prefer, as each one of us are using the alchemy, the principle of using the purple violet energy to neutralize the that which is less than God's perfection in each one of us. Also, in our best intentions, it's always better to send it in the form of love to others rather than the dictate and the command. He says that way that their own higher selves would be more likely to start that process of allowing higher light to come within. Those that do not seek the light usually depart from it. And at some point in existence in the future, they will have seen the light and come to it. But when it's their choice, and he says that we have to respect their freedoms. But for now, for the greater school of Earth and our own ascending, graduating energies to a higher plane of existence. So, beloved Lord Saint Germain is saying essentially that it's necessary because this is an end of a great epic of Earth's history. And now we take the next step. And this is the next step in the transition period now. So it says in the next 6 weeks that we'll be making, just like we're growing little things on our sill of our kitchen window in a little plant pot, perhaps. He says that there is this acceptance of our own higher energies. It comes from our own fifth dimensional existence that you already exist. So as the energies start to flow in, as we're absorbing it, it's like an overlay of our fifth dimensional self, and some part of our physical consciousness will be able to connect with it. Right now, it seems to be a mystery, but it is not. It says in the Bible, know thyself. So when have you made friends with your own self within? When have you sent love to the other parts of you? And some people talk about parallel existences and realities. It doesn't have to be like parallel existences realities in the third dimension. It can really be dimensionally one increment above another, that we simultaneously exist. So in this alignment of it, we see ourselves being aligned with God's greater purpose. So you can see it essentially it's God sending some programming, just like computer programming into us, of divine presence. We're talking about the great Christ God, which I call the I Am Presence of the heart of the great central sun, where the greatest activity of God's angels are. So it's just the energy point where God is rallied of existence, so that there can be administration, you might say, to the creation and creations. And just like in the Christian Bible, when you talk about God has many houses, there are other worlds as well. And since this is one of them, even the ethereal world could be considered around this planet another world. So many of you will question that the aura, just like in the human self, can expand and contract, and is much bigger and expanded than you realize is your own auras. And when you're accepting the fifth dimensional energies as another energy source, another food to you, and your cells, your body, your atoms, and alike are absorbing it and becoming of a higher vibration, then he says what will happen is that we'll see more miracles in our lives. So in your declaring today, declaring through this prayer with Goddess Nana, you've first taken the first step of becoming consciousness of your voice chakra, your voice energy center. And when you align that with God's voice center, all of your voices, it makes a very big voice. And that power is just overwhelming because in the beginning there was the Word, and then it became matter, as Genesis, the book of Genesis declares. So I'm getting a lot of chills in my ankles here. God, my power going through me. And with you children here, and he means that that we're all God's children, that nothing can be denied us in our own God right. We're taking our birthright, sort of soul birthrights that God has given us to the next level, to our responsibility of our own creation. So we're declaring it in here. So all of you that here tonight will have more power in your voice and what you say. So try to be silent about those things we think that are opposite of what we want God to use his power to say. In other words, we have to be careful what we're going to manifest. So now we're going to be very conscious about what we say. So may it always be a blessing, where we can reword it where it has a meaning that's not going to be negative, but be advisable. So he says in this you can bless the world and see the works actually manifest from it. So, in your prayers aloud, visualize or feel or hear your voice chakra expanding till it's the same size of God's great voice chakra. And you're going to decree into existence the things you desire in your life. Hopefully, it's for your own higher mastery, and that our words be blessings and not crosswords toward others. So, beloved Lord Saint Germain's bringing this to a close. He says, by any other name, all of you were roses. So he says, in this way, we bring that beautiful fragrance, but also the symbolic of peace to the universe, and especially to this planet and to ourselves.